And once again, I want to say greetings to each and every one of you, Aquaba, and welcome. Welcome to another round of culturally conscious communications here on LIBRadio, LIBTV, and LivingInBlack.com. It's Friday, and that's what we call Making Money Fridays. We get together and we look at what is happening in the world. We look at economics. We look at finance, household economics, critical areas of interactivity. Today's date, is Friday, the 11th of October, 2024 in the Western calendar. This corresponds to the year 6264 in the Kemetic calendar, to which we've realigned our cultural clock. Welcome to the 7th millennium. You have found your family in a peaceful place on the LIBRadio, LIBTV, and LivingInBlack.com. Making Money Fridays is what it's all about. Normally, the second and fourth weeks of the month, we're going to have Dr. Stephanie on with us, but I'm making the presumption she's on the road traveling today, and we'll make sure we get her right back into the slot. So for those of you who tune in to hear Dr. Steph, Making Money with Dr. Steph, do definitely stick around. We are committed to having her voice as a part of this LIBRadio family. She does a great job, and I am proud to have a vehicle within which her voice can be shared with our larger community. So here's what I'm going to do today. I'm writing a book. The book is outlined. I've gotten quite a bit of work done on the book, but it still has a long ways to go, and I had hoped to have it out by the end of summer, and it's not yet out. The book is called What Are We Going to Do with Christmas, with Xmas, Creating a New Culture for Sovereign Wealth. And if you don't mind, can I just share a little bit of what the book is about? I'll just give you the chapter titles here, and then we're going to go into some new research that's going to be in the book. What are we going to do with Xmas? Chapter titles include Chapter 1, These Numbers Don't Lie. Chapter 2, The Benefits of Sovereign Wealth. Chapter 3, Cultural Models and Economics. Chapter 4, entitled Corporate Greed and the Richest Blacks. Chapter 5, Black-Owned Businesses Update. Chapter 6, Creating the Cultural Shift. Chapter 7, Halloween Cometh Again, which is that whole shift into the winter season shopping bubble. Chapter 8, entitled Don't Boycott Xmas. And I say don't boycott Xmas, boycott pointless consumerism. That's the boycott. Because boycotting Christmas has never worked. And we need to stop proposing that idea. Chapter 9, Who Invented Xmas and Why? Chapter 10, Black Friday to Cyber Monday. And going forward, Chapter 11, Creating the Cultural Shift, which is actually the title of Chapter 6. So I'll just have to copy, cut, and paste that whole section. So that's pretty much it. But what I'm going to do today, there's a lot of data, a lot of statistics that appear in the book, and I'm going to share an update. This written by Yakub M. for CBC, and I have the reference for this. This is business-dasher.com. This article updated September 21st, 2024. So let me just share that link for those of you who are studying along with us. We do appreciate, love you being in the house. We appreciate, love you also, paying attention, getting on top of this game of international finances. What I need to do is make sure that those of you in our listening audience can hear me as well. Bear with me. Where is the button here? Turn up the volume. So now that those of you who are on our Rumble page can hear me as well. You've been watching my mouth move while that volume was down. I was wondering why I didn't hear it in the background. Sorry about that, everybody. But I have to set up the program on multiple platforms every day. And then I have to verify that all of the platforms are running just the way they should be. So we're going to do the best we can, always seeking to get more so that we can do better. Why? Because you deserve the best that we can produce on LIBRadio. So here is the research. I'm going to put up one more link here. I'll put it up on my YouTube page. Okay, where are we at? Rumble live chat. Put it up here. Here is the article title: 27 plus consumer spending statistics businesses must know. And that one goes there. And here is the actual link to the article, the hyperlink. So I do encourage all of us out here doing research. If you're doing database analysis and research relative to the empowerment of your group, of our group, then this is the type of data that is very valuable and not always so easy to find. So I have found it for today. I am sharing it with you, our listening audience, and let's get this party started. Make sure you hit the like button wherever you're listening from and check in. We'd love to hear from you today. Let's go forward. 27 plus consumer spending statistics businesses must know. Consumer spending in the United States has a major impact on the economy. But how much do U.S. consumers actually spend? With that question in mind, we'll cover some key statistics on consumer spending to get valuable insights into economic health and consumer behavioral trends. And this particular document has a number of different categories, 7 different categories of data analysis. Consumer spending statistics, key numbers, Black consumer spending statistics, teenage spending statistics, male versus female spending statistics, money spent on clothing statistics, eco-friendly consumers statistics and trends, and health-conscious consumer statistics. So those are the 7 categories. I think we're going to try and get through all 7 of them today. Let's begin with consumer spending statistics key numbers. Now, bear with me here as I make sure that the page is accessible to all of us. Here we go. In the first quarter of 2024, U.S. consumers spending reached an all-time high of 15.67 trillion U.S. dollars. So that's U.S. annual consumer spending, $15.67 trillion. In 2022, there was a 9% rise in consumer spending. Over the period from 2021 to 2024, spending by Black consumers is projected to increase by 12.5%. Now, when I annually calculate these numbers spent during the holiday shopping bubble, this definitely is taken into account. According to last year's 2023 calculations, the spending bubble for just the 61 days of November and December came to $68.3 billion. For the larger holiday shopping bubble period, which is just before Halloween till mid-January, those figures for African Americans came to $88 billion spent during this bubble. And again, so we're seeing this increase. Average increase is about 3.4 to 3.7% annual increase. So they talked about from 2021 to 2024, increased by 12.5%. If we divide that roughly by 3, even though there's compound interest involved, it's a small percentage. If we divide that roughly by 3, that accounts for about our 3.7% annual increase. Plus there is a little, what do they call it, compounding of that interest as well. Teens spent a total of $259 billion annually. On average, single men spent $41,203 per year. This is consumer spending, compared to $38,838 spent by single women. The average individual spends approximately $161 each month on clothing. That's quite a bit of clothing. The average American family spends $1,700 on clothes annually. Americans spend $779 on food each month, with nearly 2/3, $475, going toward groceries, and the remaining amount, $303, spent on dining out. That's an interesting statistic. I don't dine out. Very, very rarely do I dine out outside of the house. It might be for me 3 times a year, unless I'm traveling. If I'm traveling, then of course eating out becomes another issue. But if I'm not traveling, very rarely do I eat out. In the first quarter of 2024, U.S. consumer spending reached an all-time high of $15.67 trillion. Now that's in the first quarter of the year. Now I don't know if that's annual spending, 15.67 trillion. I think that's annual, but it should say by the first quarter of 2024. Let me just go back just a little bit and reconfirm that number. In the first quarter, U.S. spending reached an all-time high of 15.67 trillion. Now, I know black people spend on annual 1.8 trillion. That's annual. And black people are considered to be 14.6% of U.S. population. So, without a calculator, I can't calculate what percentage of 15.67. But I would say that that looks like an annual figure on annual consumer spending. I want to make that presumption that that's not 1/4 of annual consumer spending. Let's go forward. Here we are. Next, black consumer spending statistics. That's the next part of our conversation here. And bear with me, for some odd reason, this page is just jumping around. Oh, I see. I know what's happening. Okay. Black consumer spending statistics. The economic influence of black consumers is steadily growing in the U.S. market. Over the span from 2021 to 2024, spending by black consumers is forecast to increase by a substantial 12.5%. Moreover, by 2024, the spending power of black individuals in the U.S. is set to touch an impressive $1.8 trillion U.S. dollars. By 2024, black people's spending power in the U.S. is expected to reach $1.8 trillion. I don't call that, I do not refer to that as spending power. I refer to that figure as consumption. There's a big difference between power and consuming. spending by black consumers is expected to rise by 12.5% over the next 3 years, 2021 to 2024. Black consumer spending is growing at a rate of 5% per year, faster than overall U.S. consumer spending growth of 3%. So that growth year on year from 68.3 billion, if it's growing at 5% per year, then I can now recalculate anticipated spending for Afri-Amers for the 2024 holiday shopping season. We can just say 68.3 billion. I'll just say 68.3 plus 5% equals $71.715 billion. So my prediction for the year had been that it would, quote unquote, exceed 70 billion during the 61 days of November and December. Now we have a more precise number that we can look for, $71.715 billion expected to be spent in 61 days. Let's divide that 71.715 divided by 61 amounts to $1,175.5 million a day. That's in consumer spending during a holiday bubble. I'm going to put that number in memory because we're going to be able to use that number to calculate some of the things that we need to be doing with that money, including creating sovereign wealth. Black spending power reached a record 1.6 trillion in 2021 as per latest data. Again, predicted to reach, black spending power in the U.S. is expected to reach 1.8 trillion by 2024. In 2019, black households accounted for just under 10% of total national spending on goods and services. The average black family spent 91.1% of their income on consumption in 2018-2019. And I'm presuming that that consumption also includes housing, transportation, as well as food. We talked about food earlier. The average black household spends $36,149 on goods and services, more than other minority groups and the national median. Now that's very interesting. We're spending more than other groups, median, more than other minority groups and national median. We're spending all that, yet when it comes to intergenerational wealth, we're at the bottom of the line. That's real obvious, isn't it? We're caught up in crass, non-productive consumerism and not attuned into the value of disciplined spending and investing with the expectation of a long-term wealth growth. It is what it is. It's sad affairs. Black consumers spend 9 times more on hair and beauty products than other ethnicities. Black consumers spend 9 times more on hair and beauty products. And that's not just the women, even though it is to a great degree the women, but that's not just the women. Men are spending a lot more on grooming, on hair and grooming, whatever. Black consumer buying power, false dichotomy, and a dichotomous statement. Black consumer buying power, quote unquote, / spending, is projected to reach 1.8 trillion by 2024. They're repeating themselves. In 2021, this was 1.6 trillion. Black households spend on average of 36,149 per year, accounting for 79.8% of their pre-tax income is spent on consumption. 79.8% of pre-tax income spent on consumption. Over the last 2 decades, Black household spending has increased by 5% per year. In 2019, Black households accounted for nearly 10% of total U.S. spending on goods and services. The media consumption of Black consumers is 13.4% higher than the national average. That wasn't the medium consumption, it was the media consuming entertainment and other media products. Going forward, compared to 26% of the population, 52% of Black people find in-store shopping relaxing, compared to 26%. That's double the rate of us find in-store shopping relaxing. Every year, Black consumers spend $50 billion on electronics. Interesting statistic there. And lastly, Black people were 42% more likely to respond to mobile ads than the rest of the U.S. population. 42% more responsive to mobile advertising than other groups. This data is again brought to us from businessdasher.com. I did put up a link to that a little bit earlier. I'm hoping that somebody out there saw the link, and for Africa One says, Hotep, Brother Keedy, got you loud and clear. Great to have you in the house today, beloved sister Basuranda Uja. Oh, thank you both. From the bottom of my heart, the top and the middle of my heart as well, for being not only in the house today, but for always being responsive. That means a lot to your brother. To everyone out there listening, if you can, hit the like button. We appreciate letting the algorithms know. And today we are talking about consumption. We are just on the verge of another holiday shopping season. The 80-day season begins just around the middle of October, going into Halloween to start spending and start consuming. This is also the period of the year with the highest death rate. People dying suddenly from stroke and cardiovascular incidents. We're going to do the best we can to look out for each other. That's why you tune into LIBRadio, because you and I, we look out for each other. Yes, we do. And I am very grateful for you all to have you in the house. Brother Eric Johnson, I know you're out there. You looking out for your brother, have been doing so for many years. And don't you know, you are greatly appreciated. I couldn't do what I do if not for the support of a number of you, for which I am so wonderfully grateful. My sisters for Africa One, Basuranda, I am, because we are. Let's continue. Let's talk about teenage spending statistics. The average teenager spends $2,391 per year, according to the Taking Stock with Teen research reports. Total of $259 billion the teens spend annually. That from Marketing VOX Rand Research Center reports. $259 billion on teen consumption. Upper income teens spend on clothes Spending on clothes apps up to nearly $1,100 annually. Those are upper income teens. On average, teens on average, teenager spends $2,150 in 2020, and that's due to pandemic statistics. Point 93% of parents say their children influence family and household purchases. Point teens who work make an average of $460 per month to spend on top of what their parents shell out. So enough respect to the teens at work. That is beautiful. When we were growing up, once we were teenagers and had a job, pops didn't give us money for us to spend on what we wanted. We earned our own money. But enough respect to the teenagers who are out there pounding the pavement and doing what they can to help the family household budget out. Enough respect. The Gen Z age group reports having spent less money in 2020 than any other year of the past 2 decades. Gen Z. Clothing accounts for 21% of teens' budget, which is highest in category. Food is second most spending category, which is 20% of their spending. Upper income teens spend on clothes adds up to nearly $1,100 annually. Reported that a little bit earlier. 10% of teen spending goes to shoes. Over 50% of teens shop from Amazon when compared to Walmart, Target, Macy's. That from Piper Jeffries reports. 83% of teens have iPhone, which means shopping from mobile devices. So iPhone, very, very popular with teenagers. Let's look at this breakdown of male versus female spending statistics. Men spend 47% more on purchases than women and 75% more in store. And here, let me do this. Let me just pull this over to this screen so we're not looking across all over the room. Here we go. Men shop online more frequently than women. 24% of men shop online at least daily, compared to 17% of women. That's a lot of online shopping. 70% of men shop online weekly, compared to 57% of women. And I probably fall into that category, even though I try and restrict my consumerism. 60% of respondents who identified themselves as primary shoppers in their household were women, while 50% were men. Average annual spending on single men versus single women. For single men, $41,203. Single women, $38,838. Men spend 75% more on goods bought in store than women. 61.3% of shoppers are women and 38.7% are men. Women account for 85% of all consumer buying decisions, contributing an astounding $15 trillion to the economy. And they hold more than 60% of all personal wealth. And according to Forbes, the Federal Reserve, Gallup, Business Week, Mass Mutual Financial Group. Women, again, spend an astounding $15 trillion to the economy, holding more than 60% of all personal wealth. Single men outspend single women, but only by a slight margin. Men spent on average $35,018 a year, while women spent $33,786. So this is the single men. Women control over $31.8 trillion in worldwide spending. 38% of men and 36% of women are likely to spend more on goods from online marketplaces. Point: women on average spend out $323 per month for groceries, whereas men averaged $290. Men spend on average $21 for lunch, while women hover around $14. That's a lot of spending for lunch, brothers. What's going on out there? An average person spends $161 per month on clothes, with women spending 76% more than men per year. Men spend almost twice as much as women on vehicle purchases, $1,670 per year, compared to $2,900 per year on average. Men spend an average of $835 on audio and visual equipment and services, but only $206 caring for pets. By contrast, women spend $725 on their home theaters and $488 on their pets. During the time period of age 18 to 44, health spending for females is 84% higher than for men during those years, 18 to 24. 18 to 44, women health spending is 84 percentage points higher than men during those years. It's discovered that 68% of ladies have spent money on these items online, while men have spent 52% of their money online. So, interesting statistics there. This goes on and on and on, but there were a couple of statistics that to me sounded rather alarming. And I'm just curious as to you, my listening audience, what you feel about these disparities between men and women spending, between black people and other ethnic groups spending, and on teenage spending. Do you have teenagers in your house? How much are they spending in the consumer market? I'm going to skip through to the end of this report, where it talks about eco-friendly consumer statistics and trends, key numbers. Because when it comes down to it, sustainability is not just about combating global warming. Eco-friendly sustainability is also about managing your household finances and budget for sustainability. Sustainability of the family's wealth, the sustainability of the environment, the sustainability, eco-friendly sustains our health. 72% said they buy more eco-friendly products than 5 years ago. Thank goodness. Should be 100% people saying that. Global online searches for sustainable goods have increased 71% in 5 years, so that corresponds with that 72%. 55% of consumers are willing to pay more for eco-friendly brands. Products marketed as sustainable grew 2.7 times faster than products not marketed as sustainable. 77% of businesses indicate sustainability leads to increases in customer loyalty. So businesses, you make your commitment to sustainability and your customers will go with you loyally. That makes good sense. The business and the private sector and the public sector should be leading in these fields. But we can see in many ways that they, especially when it comes to the pharmaceutical companies, and I'm not friendly with that sector, that they're leading to catastrophe with the introduction of all of these drugs with all of their side effects and all of the secondary diseases and disorders caused by addicting a population to pharmaceutical meds that could be replaced by food and nutrition and lifestyle patterns in the first place. "63% of businesses say sustainability boosts brand revenue. 66% of shoppers are now looking for eco-friendly brands. 75% of U.S. consumers care about products' environmental impact. In recent years, it's reported that 85% of consumers have become greener, quote unquote, in their purchasing habits. 85%. That's good. 79% of consumers are changing their purchasing habits to reflect their sense of social responsibility. 50% of global consumers say they have become more eco-friendly in the past 6 months, according to a 2021 PwC survey. 55% of consumers are willing to pay more for eco-friendly brands. 34% of consumers consider the environmental impact of their purchasing decisions. 62% of consumers are willing to change their purchasing habits to help reduce environmental impact. Point. 22% of consumers say they have made major changes to be more environmentally friendly. And I hope this is inspiring. We try and be informative, inspiring, and excite each one of us to make these changes, to at least bring these areas into our consumer consciousness. 66% of consumers worldwide say they're willing to pay more for sustainable brands. 73% of millennials are willing to pay more for sustainable offerings. Of course, they're paying more for everything as inflation is perilous now for younger generations. 45% of consumers are willing to buy more from companies that they believe care about the environment. 92% of consumers are more likely to trust a brand that is environmentally or socially conscious. 53% of consumers are prepared to spend extra for product packaging that is environmentally friendly, according to a recent survey. That's a very important product packaging, such as I am one of those ones that will not spend money on products packaged in styrofoam. I detest styrofoam for my own individual health and safety, but for the larger environment, styrofoam is just a really, really bad idea. It's cheap, yes it is. It has a pretty effective thermal barrier, but the problem is that you buy the styrofoam product, you consume what's in it in a matter of minutes or an hour or a day at most, and then the long-term toxic environmental impact of that styrofoam can last for dozens, if not 100 years or more. That's just not a good investment, people. 81% of people throughout the world expect businesses to be environmentally conscious in all their advertising and marketing activities. And lastly, about environmental friendliness, 52% of consumers want brands to create products with less packaging. Yes, less packaging. I think we will, in my lifetime, come to solve this problem of toxic packaging. And let's be creative. Let's be innovative. There was a time when people who bought milk, cow juice, would buy it out of glass bottles. They would have someone who drove around the neighborhood delivering milk. I don't consume milk. I don't encourage the consumption of milk. I think that the whole dairy industry, along with other animals for food industries, are far more damaging to the environment than other alternatives. But the packaging issue must be resolved, must be solved, and do it in this generation. Last category I'm going to share with you today, because I don't really have a whole lot of research I pulled together for today, and I'm not really energized today for some odd reason. And interesting, because before the show I was writing a chapter, including a new chapter in the book Living Superfood Solutions, which is all about bioenergetic, managing our bioenergetic strategies. So my energy's not necessarily up. I have been continuing my detox fast. And while yesterday, because I began the day very early on an interview, I missed my morning exercises. And then by the evening, got caught up and missed my push-ups. So yesterday was the first day in several weeks that I did not do any push-ups at all. But I am up to 270. So I'll pick that back up today. Now, attempting to do 270 in a single set. And my morning reps are up to got up to 195 of my core reps. So that's a good day. So that's part of the energy, is spending so much energy while not eating. I'm not gaining weight right now because of the detox. I am eating a little bit, but I'm about to go deep back into the detox. But actually, beginning today, I should have started this morning on the chelation therapy and blood purification. Pick that back up. But for those of you who follow the autumn equinox detox fast, we are still on it. We're still on it. And halfway through, actually, we began on the 22nd. So that would take us to the end of the month, 8 days plus now 11 days. So this would be day 19 of the 28-day detox fast. Health conscious, I should say, consumer statistics. This is the last part we're going to go through today. Health conscious consumer statistics. Point. 93% say they feel compelled to eat healthy at least some of the time. At least some of the time. 93%. 63% say they try to eat healthy most, if not all, of the time. That's from Consumer Food and Beverage Survey by LEK 2018. So that survey is 6 years old. 64% of the people consider healthfulness as an important influencing factor while buying food and beverages. 1 in 4 consumers actively seek health benefits from foods. 1 in 4 consumers. That means 3 out of 4 do not actively seek health benefits from foods. Yeah, that's a big problem, people. 2 in 5, 43%, always look for healthy options, and half, 52%, sometimes do. Only 5% of surveyed consumers never look for healthy options. Health conscious customers account for 25 to 30% of all grocery customers in the U.S. and Europe. 0.75% of consumers committed to one or more attribute: natural, ethical, enhanced, less of, or alternative dietary lifestyle when attribute that when choosing foods. Again, 75% of consumers contribute one or more attribute their lifestyle when choosing foods. And that's good. Natural, ethical, enhanced, less of an alternative dietary lifestyle. Hey, listen, I'm a vegan with a strong leading towards raw superfoods. So you know where I'm coming from. And some of you agree as well. The U.S. is ranked number 20 among the health conscious countries, ranked by perception in the world, ranked by perceived to be health conscious. The problem with that is that the U.S. population has such poor health statistics when compared to other wealthy nations. There's a group called the OECD nations, Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development, some 38 countries. And compared to the top 12 spenders on medical health and medical research and development, U.S. average, if you average the next 11 on the top 12 spenders, U.S. at number one is double what the next 11 average out to be. Yet, when it comes to health satisfaction and healthy population, United States ranks very poorly, somewhere around 34 to 37 out of 38. So this idea that the U.S. is ranked number 20 among the health conscious countries, ranked by perception in the world, that's perception. That's just a perception. That's what people are getting from TV. Millennials, 51%, and Generation X, 45%. Both are the consumers who mostly look for healthy food options when shopping for food. And that's a compliment to these generations. The millennials, I have 3 millennials daughters, Gen X, and the millennials are building upon Gen X. The baby boomers are not listed here, but the baby boomers screwed it all up. And last point, 25 to 34 years old millennials appeared to be the most health conscious according to the study. Appeared to be the most health conscious according to the study. That's a beautiful thing. We do see that overweight, obesity is rising very rapidly in Gen X as well as among baby boomers. And millennials are susceptible to that same trend toward overweight, obesity. In fact, let me just take a moment here, because that just piqued my curiosity. I'm looking for the trends, long-term trends toward overweight and obesity compared among baby boomers, Gen X, not Jax, Gen X, and millennials. So that is, we're looking for a list comparing those. Let me go hit the AI chat for that, and I'm going to bring it up as well here. That is within Brave. I'm going to bring the same inquiry up in Copilot. We're just going to use those two. Here's what the first one shows for Brave. Trends in baby boomer, Gen X, millennial obesity. Long-term trends toward overweight and obesity among baby boomers, Gen X, and millennials. Based upon the search results, here are the key findings. Millennials, born 1982 to 1993, expected to be the most overweight generation since records began, with over 70% predicted to be overweight or obese by age 35 to 45. That from Cancer Research UK 2018. This trend is driven by unhealthy eating habits and a lack of physical activity, which are deeply ingrained in the younger generation. So this web search I did, it didn't, when I was reading from the Business Dasher article, the trends just didn't feel right. When they said millennials, 51%, and Gen X are the consumers who mostly look for healthy food options when shopping for food. It appeared to be the most health conscious according to the study. That didn't feel right to me. Now we're seeing it different. Going back to Brave, Gen X, born 1961 to 1981. Obesity rates have increased among Gen X, but not as dramatically as among millennials. For example, a 2019 study found that around 5 in 10 baby boomers born 1945 to 55 were overweight or obese at middle age, compared to over 7 in 10 millennials, which is obesity risk. Oh, that's from obesity risk for millennials. So 5 in 10 baby boomers overweight or obese at middle age, compared to 7 to 10 millennials obesity risk. And last point, baby boomers born 1945 to 55. That's not correct. Baby boomers are born 1946 to 1964. So this inquiry from Brave is not credible because they have the years of the baby boomers off. And the years of Gen X is off as well. So historically baby boomers had lower obesity rates than millennials. However, obesity levels have increased among this generation, with about 50% of baby boomers being overweight or obese in their 30s and 40s. That from Cancer Research UK. So, key drivers of the trend: unhealthy eating habits and lack of physical activity among millennials. Point: increased accessibility to unhealthy food and clever marketing tactics by the food industry. Boy, isn't that true. Point: societal normalization of overweight and obesity, making it harder for individuals to recognize and address the issue. And point 4, poor health habits, including inactivity and poor nutrition among millennials, contributing to early development of overweight and obesity. Let's go to the second inquiry I did using Microsoft Copilot. Baby boomers. Now at least Microsoft, they got the years of these generations correct. Here is a comparison of long-term trends toward overweight and obesity among baby boomers, Gen X, and millennials. Baby boomers, born 1946 to 1964. Baby boomers have seen a significant increase in obesity rates over the decades. In the 1960s, the obesity rate among adults was around 13.4%. We reported on that earlier this week. By the 2000s, this rate had more than doubled to 35.9%. Generation X, born 1965 to 1980. Yes, that's the correct years. Gen X has experienced even higher obesity rates compared to baby boomers. In the 2000s, the obesity rate for Gen X adults was around 40.8%, and it has continued to rise. Millennials, born 1981 to 1996, millennials have the highest obesity rates among the three generations. Studies indicate that more than 70% of millennials are projected to be overweight or obese by the time they reach middle age, 35 to 44 years. These trends highlight the growing challenge of obesity across generations, with each subsequent generation facing higher rates of overweight and obesity. It is crucial to address these issues through public health initiatives, education, and lifestyle changes. So I think that was a very valuable inquiry right there. What I am going to do is I'm going to add that to the book, Living Superfood Solutions, because I do have a chapter on overweight and obesity. So what I'm going to do right now is just copy, cut, and paste this research that I just gathered. That is from Copilot. And I did it again. I did a second one from Brave. And I'm going to complete the last one in Brave, but I recognize it again from Brave. They got the years wrong for these generations. But lastly, they have a section called implications. What do these data, what does it imply? Bear with me here. What are the implications? Trends in baby boomer, Gen X, and millennial obesity. Point: employers and policymakers must address the rising obesity epidemic among millennials, focusing on workplace wellness initiatives and environmental changes to promote healthy habits. Point 2, healthcare providers and educators must adapt to the changing demographics and develop targeted interventions to address the unique challenges faced by millennials. And point 3, public health campaigns should shift from emphasizing weight loss to promoting overall well-being and healthy lifestyles, rather than just focusing on weight reduction. I agree with all three of those points, especially focus not just on weight reduction, but overall well-being. Very key, very critical. So, good research. I'm just going to copy, cut, and paste this. I'll filter it out and then add that to the book, Living Superfood Solutions. So copy that. I'm going to save this text file, which is what I do. I'll grab raw materials, and there we go. And let me just copy this title, and I'll put that up in the book so I'll know to include that subchapter in Living Superfood Solutions. I want to thank you all for tuning in today. You've been tuned into LIBRadio, LIBTV, and livinginblack.com. Again, one of the chapters of the book is on the specific topic of overweight and obesity. Let me just real quickly put that in. Bear with me, everybody. It takes a minute sometimes for me to find these things. And then the computer wants to lock up. So it's a lot of memory. Combating overweight, obesity through nutrition. That's the chapter title. I'm going to go to that chapter and then go to the end of the next chapter. And I'll just post this up at, here we go. And paste this right in here. And highlight that, and I'll just come back and fix that later. I am authoring the book. The book is getting rather substantial. It's going to be probably over 300 pages. It's approaching 250 pages. So we're going to do the best we can with what we got. Let me wrap it up for today. Just double checking, making sure all of you who wanted to get your message through were able to do so. And here, well, I'm going to do this one more time while I'm at it, while I'm thinking about it. What was the long-term trends towards overweight and obesity? I have this up, and so why not do it while I'm doing it, while I'm at it? Put this up here in a new research tab, and there, that'll be waiting for me after I finish the program. You've been tuned into LIB Radio, LIB TV, and livingblack.com. I do see for Africa One in the house another comment. I would be interested in the spending habits of continental-born Africans and their children compared to American-born Africans. I wonder if they are buying into unnecessary consumerism. I can definitely assure you that it's going to be much better for our continental family. Yet, among the wealthier class, the upper middle class, the consumer trends will start to merge with those of the West. And that kind of naturally follows. But when you have per capita income in many African countries, which is only somewhere between maybe $4,000 to $10,000 per capita, they are not going to be spending so much money on stuff, unnecessary stuff, even though we are seeing the trends, and I know you're probably noticing it as well, of women spending much more on hair, wigs, beauty, makeup, and other consumer patterns. We can see clothing expenses or commitments going up, especially as you're seeing the fertility trends and family size dropping. You're going to see more personalized consumption spending. So the trend is going there. And with the demographics of Africa, the demographic dividend, this is why, Sister Shingai, this is why the whole world is racing to get to Africa to sell them consumer products. China dominating African marketplace with cheap Chinese-made consumer goods. Of course, now the cheap Chinese-made consumer goods are made in Bangladesh, India, Vietnam, and other places where the labor wage has been pushed down below that, the wages paid to Chinese workers. And increasingly, we are seeing certain things such as apparel and footwear shifting to the African continent. We do want to encourage the shift to Africa of the manufacturing of consumer goods all across the board. We also want to see Africa do a better job than has been done by other parts of the planet when it comes to the sustainability of the consumer products that are manufactured. We as Africans need to shift away from plastics to soy-based plastics. We can actually make plastic out of soy that's biodegradable, especially if the soy is organically grown. We can also see products made from bamboo, linseed or flax, products made from hemp. These sustainable materials, biodegradable, sustainable materials, are very useful, very flexible. We want to see the shift. And you know something? For Africa One, you and I are the agents of this shift. We are the ones to come home to our mother continent and say, we have learned some things from the outsiders that we need to make as the foundation, the root of our African sustainable sovereign development. And we need to do this sooner than later, because as it is right now, the influx of cheap plastic-made goods into Africa is being devastating to the environment and devastating to people's health. I'll never forget going to a fishing port in Ghana and looking over the side of the docks into the water at the plastic garbage and filth that was accumulating there. And quite simply, it was horribly shocking. And horribly shocking that the Ghanaian people would just trash their environment like that. They drink their water out of these little plastic bags they call cachets, and they just drink the water and throw the bag down on the ground wherever they are. It was horrible. They don't do that in Rwanda. You're not allowed to do that in Rwanda. You do that in Singapore, you get caned. We can do better than that. We have this beautiful, pristine, beautiful continent. I've been to a number of different African countries and been outside of the cities many times. And Africa is so beautiful, so incredibly pristine. Ethiopia, Uganda, Kenya, Ghana. These countries so beautiful, so green. We can do better than to trash them. I've also been to Benin, where a huge population there lives on these cities that are out over the lake, cities built on stilts and on raised platforms of ground, and the water is becoming horribly filthy there. We can do better than that, but we've got to have a plan. We've got to have a plan for doing better, people. And that's why you tune in to your favorite. We aim to be your favorite. We are LIBRadio, LIB We Are Living in Black.com. It's been a good week on LIBRadio. I hope you found something to inform, inspire, excite you to take primary responsibility for what it is that we have to do for our future, for our children's future, for our children's children, and the generations to follow. Today is Friday, where we focus on making money Fridays. Tell your friends to tell their friends. We have our own, and you know something? There's a lot that we can do with what we've got. No doubt, no doubt, no doubt. Peace and prosperity to each and every one of you on your favorite. We aim to be your favorite. We are LIBRadio, LIB TV. We are living in black.com. Peace, y'all.